Praveer, I'm going to jump right into it, right? First, I'll tell you what my take on AI is at the moment. I heard a story in the past where somebody very senior up in IBM once said that I don't understand why people will use computers at home. And this is when Apple launched the first personal computers, right? I think I come from this place of fear where I don't want to be sitting 2 years later, where we go through this entire world of AI happen in front of us and where we don't have a play or a view, right? So in my head, it's a very existential situation right now. And which is what we've been building, we've been trying to build together, right? And we'll get into what we are building later. But as we are building this, I think there are certain questions which still loom large for us as an organization where we are a 40, 50 member organization. And while that same principles will be true for even a 20,000 people organization, right? What are agents? How do we imagine this? How do we imagine workflow changing because of agents coming in? What is the interface between agents and human beings? Now, I keep hearing things like after 900 days, the labor force is going to be completely different. Now, when somebody says 3 years, I can't believe it, but when it comes down to 900 days, this is real, right? This is happening right now. I heard the global managing partner of McKinsey say that the way they are considering their organization is that it's 40,000 humans plus 20,000 agents, and they're considering their workforce to be 60,000 people, right? What is this construct as, and how do I imagine organizations evolving where there is this entire agentic workforce at play, and while humans are interfacing and working with them, right? And I think there is nobody better poised to kind of help navigate this conversation because you've been deep into this world. So break this down for me.
So where are humans and where are agents, right?
Yeah.
And how they're coming together, and how the world is kind of talking about it. See, I feel uh, there are two ways to look at this, right? And that's the narrative. The narrative globally right now is AI a tool or AI a threat, right? So though this is what people are thinking, but there is a third thing, right? And the third thing is the partnership of AI or agents with humans, with people, right? And as this journey of building out agents is going on, right, that thing is becoming more and more real. People who are building these agents, I mean, I can speak for myself. I've seen this grow on a day-to-day basis in the last 3 years, like a front row seat to the first GPT-3, right, to today agentic systems which are doing close to about 8 hours of tasks without stopping, right? So I think first, the most important thing to understand is what is an agent,
Yeah.
right? Very, very simple question, but has many different answers that a lot of people are looking for, right? Or the way people interpret it. In my book, an agent is basically a tool that is intelligent enough to complete a task,
Fair.
right? Now, if I was to elaborate a little more, right, this tool uses other tools and an intelligence layer, which is your language model, to actually complete that task. How it does it is through very two simple concepts of chaining and looping. So
Yeah.
a chain and a loop, and as it chains and loops using this intelligence or tokens, right, it comes to an end and it solves a task. That is an agent. An agent is something that can solve a task, right? So read my email, summarize it for me. Read this document, summarize it for me. Initial ways of agentic behavior, right? But now they've become far more evolved. So imagine just 2 years back, you were asking ChatGPT basic questions, and it would give you answers. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
slowly you entered the era of search, where now you could ask a question, and it could go on the internet and give you an answer. Then came documents, when you could give it a document and it would then give you answers based on the document and a little bit of search. Where we are today is we are like, I don't have enough tokens to read 30 documents that I have just given my AI assistant. So now they are able to manage much larger context, right? Where we are today and where we're going to be in 3 months. I mean, 900 days is a long time. I think
Mm.
I think the world's changing on a day-to-day basis. What we need to understand is, I think, this concept that I want to bring up called uh, agents for humans. How the agent and human partnership is going to look like, what are the possibilities in front of us, how that's
Mm.
going to change the nature of work. The nature of work is going to change for sure. You don't need to stare at an Excel sheet. You can ask and build a model, right? You can build 20 models. You'll have more data to analyze and take a decision, right? You don't want to take a decision on only 10 data points. You want to take it on a
Sure.
50 data point so that you're sure, right? And agents working with people, working together with people, right, are going to make that happen. Faster, better decisions, more informed decisions. So I think that's for me the landscape of where we are at today, where we are headed, right? And that partnership is what I think we need to explore.
Yeah. So Praveer, I think just bang on, right? As far as what an agent is, I think the ability to complete a task which is based on other tools, connectors, whatever you might want to call it, to help it build, is the working line definition of an agent, right? I think I'm in complete agreement of that. Now, the example that you gave, right, which is essentially uh, ability to read email. Like back in the day, this used to be the job of a EA, right? Where physical letters would come, she would scan those documents, keep it aside, etc. These are the ones the boss has to sign. These are the ones we should necessarily read, etc., etc. Then came computers where it was easy. Now there's a hybrid model where your EA also has access to your email, so she does half of it. So all of that, right? Now, all these use cases at an individual level, right, as in me working, are very simple for me to understand. What becomes a problem for me is to kind of imagine this at the level of enterprise, right? As in, how does an enterprise think of this? Because while you might say that an enterprise is a collection of individuals who are chained together in departments who are doing various tasks, now, am I imagining this as an agent coming in, replacing the human being who's doing that? If that agent is taking away a large part of the work, how do I reimagine the organization where now what is this person supposed to do? Right? As in, those questions are just leading to so much unnecessary complexity, right? So I'll tell you how we thought about this, right? The way we imagined this for the agency was we set out mapping out our entire process, right? The day the client gets onboarded, I know you told me that why don't you start this at your BD funnel, right? That when you start looking for outbound BD, build it from there. But we said, okay, keep BD aside for now. Client onboarding process, day-to-day operations, right? We took all that process and we said that we'll convert it into autonomous workflows and we'll build agents, we'll build skills, whatever it might be needed, we'll put the relevant tools, connectors, etc., and build this complete pipeline, right? And uh, we are fairly there in terms of the build, right? As in operationally, we have to figure out a few chinks in the armor, improve the system, etc., etc., but we'll do it. Now, the way I am thinking about this is that humans who are involved still require judgment calls that need to be taken, right? So am I imagining now a role of judgment more, or is there any other way to think about this? As in, that is the kind of question, right?
So, I mean, this is my job every day. What I'm
Mm.
doing every day is I'm walking into a company, seeing what people are doing, and coming up with ways and means of doing that better, faster, more informed, with better decision making, faster decision making, right? More informed decision making. Uh, let's take an example pre AI. What
Mm.
is it that we were really doing pre AI? You had a lot of software. You had like eight
Yeah.
software. All the software was generating data, and some of the software was also doing a little bit of analysis, right? Just kind of giving you 10 dashboards. You were taking data from these dashboards, you were putting it into some kind of analysis that you were doing in a spreadsheet or a presentation or something. Then you would go and you would discuss amongst 3 4 people. You would either take a decision or you will refine it further and then pass it on to take another decision, right? So in terms of your marketing funnel, you would look at your ad set data. You would decide what to do with those ads, right? And then you would generate a report that the client will see, and then you will refine your strategy and you'll basically run this iterative loop, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, this data started passing through a language model,
Mm.
right? Somewhere along the way, that spreadsheet was given to an AI and said, okay, can you just debunk this for me? Now, automatically in the human flow, an AI got introduced,
Yeah.
right? Which is what we do today. So you get one agent to write a prompt, you get another one to generate an image, you take a third one to generate a layout, you take a fourth one to publish it somewhere.
Yeah.
So you're basically doing context switching. You take context from here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Earlier we were processing that context. Now that context somehow gets routed through AI, right? The way this is going to move forward is the AI is going to be all encompassing with the context, the intelligence, and the memory all inside it. So you don't have to switch for context. The AI will remember, the agent will remember what your context is, what your last month's report was, what yesterday's report was, today's report was. If it doesn't remember, it's going to go find out, right? It saves you that much time in just moving data around,
Yeah. 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 For sure.
right? And then you build your decision loops, right? And then you say, I'm going to slice this data 10 times or in 10 different ways, and that's how I'm going to take decisions. So the role of the human is very pivotal. Uh, AI output needs to be validated. AI
Yes.
output needs to be decided on, and the AI output needs to be ranked. What is good output? What is bad output? Right. So we are going to be the decision makers of everything that AI generates, and we decide if it moves to the next step or not. Right. So I think that is the pivotal change that's going to happen, and it's already happening. But these systems are now coming together.
Mm.
2026 for me is like the year where a lot of that capability is suddenly kind of coming together. A lot of your tools, a lot of your large context, which earlier was impossible to kind of interpret, is getting managed. Long horizon tasks that take 60, 40, 70 steps to complete, 15, 20 minutes to complete. All that is happening now, right? But our job is to make sure we take the right decisions, we build more efficient funnels, and we do more granular analysis,
Sure.
right? So I
Sure.
think that's a clear direction things are moving into.
Sure. No, I completely agree with you. I think just to help us understand, right? I was reading some data point which said that as of today, about 95% of pilots which are happening on the enterprise space on AI are failing, right? And I know that you've been doing these extensive POCs with a lot of organizations, right? As in in your experience so far, help me understand where the falls are. Okay, and I'll tell you a couple of dimensions on this. Number one, it could be lack of conviction of the leadership itself, right? They're doing it just because AI is something that needs to be done today. Hence, I'm doing it. Uh, they are over ambitious. They think it will solve for too many things, while that is not maybe the right approach to do it. Maybe the legacy systems themselves are not ready to align to this kind of infrastructure, right? Because data organization, multiple software, all of that is so wonky today that I can't get it into a flow, and hence you start blaming the flow versus your infrastructure not being right, right? Uh, and it could be a combination of those problems, right? Or it could be something which I've completely missed out on. Where in your head is uh, what should somebody be doing? So let's say I'll give you an example. I'm a 100-member company which happens to sell products, right? As in I'm a D2C e-commerce kind of product company. Large part of my work is the marketing side. Then there is logistics, product development, all of that, right? How should I go on this journey, and what are the easy wins, right? As in to build confidence in myself and my team that hey, this is the right direction. As in how should I even approach this? What POC should I come to you with, or should I just come to you and say that hey, this is where I am. Tell me what I should be doing, right? And what would your advice be?
Let's get to the example that what we are working on together, right?
Yeah,
So we are working on an entire suite of building an AI powered marketing agency,
yeah,
right? So what we are building together is the approach that I think is the right one. You know, uh, we first understood that the systems that we have today were built for people.
yes,
The software that we use today was built for people.
yeah,
The reporting format that we use today is built for people, right?
yeah.
And that is the reality everywhere. So everyone thought that we are going to take systems that are built for people and we are going to port them into systems that is going to use,
Mm,
right? Which was not the right decision to take, right? Because Because at the end of the day, when a software is built for a human to operate, it will operate the way the human is designed to operate, right? It'll have an
Yeah.
interface, it'll have a form, you'll click 5 places to get to one thing, right? So the number of clicks that you'll do to get to a decision decides how well the software is built, right? But it's built for a human. Now, we had to solve a lot of problems that we have been working on, right?
Yeah.
Handling large amount of data, handling large amount of advertising data, right?
Yeah.
Multi-source data, building those pipelines to be able to generate that output, the reports, the understanding of what is really going on. So the clear ability of translating a process into insight to action,
Mm.
right? I think devoid of this kind of mutation of what a human would do,
Mm.
or using a software that was designed for humans and then making it designed or built for agentic is not going to be the right way. And that's the reason for a lot of failures. We've done a lot of projects where we've seen great amount of success,
Yeah.
right? But I would say also the technology is now at a place where a lot of those problems of connecting to different sources, handling large
Sure.
amount of data are solved. At a model level, a lot of thinking problems, a lot of reasoning training has gone in. So
Yeah.
long horizon tasks are happening today. So these kind of things is what will accelerate uh, the rate of success, right?
Yeah.
When AI native systems start getting built,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So a very simple example, right? We all do web search now.
Mm.
Web search was designed to be done on the browser,
Correct.
right? So I would go to Google, I would type what I need, and I'll sift through things. It was a software that all of us use so many times in a day. What do we do now? We literally talk to an agent. The agent does the
Yeah.
web search, and we get the final output. What
Sure.
happened to the software layer in the middle? No,
Yeah. Disappeared. Yeah.
an agent now uses that software to go to the internet and fetch the data. So the software got replaced by the agent.
Yeah.
So, so that is exactly what's going to happen. Data is now getting ready for AI. Data was built for software. APIs were built for software. Now agents talk directly to data. They're able to
Yeah.
retain and store that context. They're able to slice and dice that data in 50 different ways. They're able to build their own interface, own dashboards, and give them to me. So, which means I am not now restricted by a interface that was designed to be static. Best
Sure.
example that I've kind of found to illustrate this is when you remember when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone. He
Yeah.
showed the
Yeah.
video of a BlackBerry, and he said, "Why is the
Yeah.
keyboard here?"
Yeah.
Because the keyboard means that I have to have the keyboard even if when I'm playing a game.
Yeah.
Now, with the touch screen, you can design any interface.
It disappears. Yeah. Completely.
So I think that is the moment now where the software interface is going to be generative. It's not going to be restricted. The software is going to generate itself based on what you need. Your dashboard is going to generate itself. Your reports are going to generate, and it's going to be self-learning. So over the next 3, 6, 9 months, your AI is going to understand this partnership that you build with it. When you work with it for 3 months, it's going to learn from your habits, your inputs, what you want out of it, right? And it's going to give you something which is very, very pivotal, right? It's going to make decisions and present them to you, and you decide whether to go ahead with it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that software layer in the middle is going to get replaced by an agentic layer, and that's I
Yeah.
think that's I think where a large amount of success is going to come.
No, I think, and you made a couple of very interesting points, right? I think the first part of this is, and again, I'm thinking back to when we started designing our system, right? So there's a large vision of what a native AI full stack marketing agency should look like, right? And you've seen the diagrams and charts, etc., etc. We have that fully mapped out, right? Now, when we started the real build process at that point in time, and I remember you con constantly saying that, uh, tell me the process, tell me the process, tell me the first process that you want to solve for, right? And the simplest thing that we built, which we started building, was how do we solve for the daily report that needs to go to the brand, the
Yeah,
daily report and the weekly report, right? That's the it is the most standardized work that has to happen. It's a set template. Data has to be downloaded from multiple sources, put in a dashboard, inciting on top of that, ship it out, right? And once we started doing that, that's when we actually realized that the process mapping is super critical, right? We are used to thinking departments, we are used to thinking work streams, but
Yeah,
we assume the process takes care of itself because the human is running the process, right, out of their own mind. Right? As in,
correct.
you basically know that, listen, if I have to create a D2C dashboard, I have to take out data from Shopify, I have to take out data from Meta. As in, all that is not, there is no process to it. As in, it's just common knowledge, right? But when you have to sit and document the process, that's when reality strikes, right? Saying that, hey, each process requires a complication. Then you add on the layer of interconnected processes, that
Yes.
the output of some process is an input of another process, right? And then that orchestration kind of builds around itself. So I think one of the big things for me personally has been that while have that larger vision, small start with tangible things you can solve for today, and which gives you the building this also the learning curve, right? As in, uh, it's not easy. It's not something which comes intuitively to people because we've learned on SaaS, right? As in we've learned on MS Office. Our work has started on MS Office, and then SaaS came in. We've just grown up using all that. This is not native to us.
Oh, absolutely. And let me ask you, what are, now that we are very close to kind of taking that, what we've built, and a lot of people are already testing it. What do you think, in your team, on a day-to-day basis, what do you think is going to change over the next, let's say, 45, 60 days, now that we have that entire agentic layer in place? What do you think a day in the life of a couple of your team members going to look like?
So I'll tell you, I think one of the big things, right? I think the first thing for a media buyer, right? Anybody who manages certain X number of clients, uh, when the day starts, the first thing that the person does is comes, looks at what happened. And so assume that the day ended at 6 o'clock. If the guy is lucky, his day ended at 6 o'clock the previous day. And he starts working at 9 o'clock the next morning, right? The world changed overnight, money got spent, this happened, that happened, multiple things happened. So the first checkpoint is he comes and opens the dashboard, looks at analytics, sees what's right, what's wrong, and does something, right? Now, today, because that's a process that got set up already, when he logs in, either there'll be an email on his inbox or at a click of a button, he'll be able to just get that complete understanding in a single place, right? And go directly to action. So the time spent on accumulating data, assimilating data, drawing conclusions, and then taking action just reduces to directly take action.
Yes.
And that I think is a major unlock, right? Because I think you want people to do higher order work, right? Higher order thinking, higher order work. But the enablement still requires them to go through a lot of data, understand, find things from multiple places. But if you just solve for that, right? If you just give that person everything in one go with added intelligence on top, it's not like a dashboard which has everything, right?
Yes.
It's intelligent interpretation of real metrics, right?
Yes.
The action layer becomes so much easier for the person to do, right? And I can just imagine that, by 10:30, most of the BAU work is done. As in, if I'm managing five ad accounts, I log in at 9 o'clock, uh, and 5 clicks, I get five recommendation sheets saying that, hey, account one, this has to be done, this has to be, that has to be done. And I have to make decisions saying this seems right, this doesn't seem right, right? My BAU work is done by 11 o'clock, max.
Yes.
Then I have the rest of the day to do real, meaningful, value added work.
Yes. So now I'll come to my next question. Let's say, what took me 3 hours is now done in the first half an hour of the day, right?
Yeah,
Now you, as the, as the founder of the company, you now have somebody who's now good at something, but now with one agent, they're able to do what they were doing earlier far more efficiently. What do you do with now the time that they've saved? Right? Do you expand them horizontally and say, okay,
yeah,
I want to give you three more agents to manage. I want you to grow horizontally, or I want you to go deeper, or I want you to handle more work, because that's, I think, a question that a lot of people have. When this agents and humans partnership happens, right?
yeah.
What really happens on a day-to-day basis to my job profile, right? My job description. So where do you see that going? What do you think now with these tools, with these intelligent tools? What are your teams going to do?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So the narrative today is that everybody will become jobless, right? Eventually. So the extreme, if you keep stretching the spectrum, right? A year later, what we just described, this intelligence needing to be applied by the person to make decision making, will also become autonomous, right? Eventually, the system will learn enough that you don't even need to do anything, right?
Yes.
Now, the lazy argument of this is that, hey, I will require less headcount, right? The argument, which is the same argument, is that I'll get the person to do more work, right? It's the same thing, right? Either I reduce team or I say that these five people today were doing 25 accounts will now manage 60 accounts, 70, 80 accounts, right? I think both sides, this is the lazy argument, right?
Yes.
Because this is assuming that we are already doing the best work that we possibly can, right?
Yes.
Now that if the time is unlocked for me, there is so much more opportunity to do more meaningful work, which earlier I couldn't do just because there was not enough bandwidth,
Yes.
right? So, and I don't know the conclusive answer, right? But I think the answer will lie somewhere in one part of the work is either the person will get more work, right? And more work meaning more clients to manage because now it's become easier for the person. But the real value will come when you get these same people to start doing more value added work, right? Where you
Yes.
unlock real growth, which was getting limited just because there was not enough time. I think that's where in your mental framework, right, you have to look at it not as binary labor equation saying five people doing 50 tasks. Now agent will do 25, so I need only two people to do the remaining 25. But keep doing these 50 tasks, hold on to these five people, but can they do 10 other tasks, which kind of changes the trajectory of outcomes that you're driving for your brands or your
Yes.
business, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I want to give you an example of an FMCG brand that we are currently working with, and their entire goal is to have far more optimized content cycles,
Yeah,
far more contextualized content cycles.
yeah,
So everyone's reducing the loop, the size of the cycle, right?
yeah,
So the way I see my team using code generation now, so everyone in the team is doing vibe coding, right? But what I'm able to do as a product lead is I'm able to ship features that were taking me weeks in days now.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm able to do far faster iterative loops, and I think that applies to every business. No
yes,
business is perfect, and no business is going to become perfect, right? Because market dynamics are going to change. Challenges with new kind of content, with high volume content, are going to change. New challenges will get thrown up, and that iterative loop will just become shorter, shorter, and faster. Because now what we were doing, spending time doing operational work, looking at an Excel sheet of 500 rows and trying to make sense of it and making pivot tables. Now we're going to analyze
yeah,
20 such dashboards, talk to those dashboards, take those decisions, and maybe do far far quicker iterations on every decision, so that we improve every possible decimal point. I think your ROAS calculations are going to go to 4 decimal points,
yeah,
because,
yeah, yeah.
because one decimal point also, every day improvement is going to be a cumulative jump.
Yeah. No, and I think a good metric to look at, right, is, and if you look at like listed companies, look at market cap. If you look at uh, unlisted companies' revenue, right, the time it will take for revenue to double or market cap to double will reduce. As in, because
Yes.
it just sheer time required for certain processes to move, right? And I think the limitation eventually will become if it's a consumer business, what is the consumer adoption life cycle, right? As in, that is going to be the only bottleneck because you can't change adoption life cycle beyond a certain point, right? As in, you can push it, but you can't. As in, you this it just because you launch a new toothpaste and you outspend everybody else, not tomorrow everybody will start buying, right? As in, you can't do that. But that is only going to be the only limiter, as in the time it requires to double revenue, to double market cap will significantly reduce. If you just have that mindset saying that, hey, now that I have freed up human potential in some sense, and can I deploy it to do far more meaningful things? As in, that's the framework I look at it at.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you. So
Mm.
I have one more question. So let's say you build this AI native marketing agency. How many D2C brands would be there in India?
The latest estimate is about 60,000.
60,000, right?
Yeah.
Now, how does the ability of these 60,000 brands to have cutting edge marketing agency frameworks, access, processes, right, get augmented? How does reach and penetration of your services
Mm.
get augmented because of what you're building? That's another side of the business story, right? Because today, with the people you have, right, you handle X number of brands. Now with the people and the agents, the agents for humans story. Now how does that change your GTM plans? How does that change your market outreach? How does that change your ICP?
Yeah. No, so I'll tell you, I think one of the things that is a limiting aspect of a services business like ours is that you kind of position yourself somewhere, right? As in either you do only very niche work, you do mass market work, etc., etc. The way we think of ourselves is that we are not the most competitive in terms of pricing, and we are in a competitive business, right? Performance marketing for primarily is a competitive business. We price ourselves at 25, 30, 40% premium to others, which means that our time reduces, right? Now, that's only one part. But imagine a situation where if you want to create, like, core marketing thinkers will tell you that you need to have solid brand strategy before you can start executing everything. But if you come to me and if you are a new age brand saying that, hey, help me set up brand strategy, I'm going to come and tell you that, hey, listen, that's going to be a 10 lakh rupee project, right? As in, I will not touch it because my value of my time is that much, right? Mine and plus my team plus resources, all of that put together. Okay. If I have put it into a agentic workflow which you can use with very little of my intervention, and let's even assume that the output that you get is going to be 70% there. Okay. And let's say that my experience and my team's cumulative experience and my being a reference for any other similar marketing professional is going to add that 30%. If I can democratize that and say that, hey, this is going to cost you $200, right? Does that not give a head start to everybody? Like the way internet gave access, right? Internet
Yeah.
gave access for anybody to launch. Today, it's to launch better.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the way I'm thinking about it. I think this is a democratization process as well, to that extent.
Yes, yes, and I think I think Sam Altman said one line maybe a couple of years back, and that kind of stayed with me. But that was a very interesting way of looking at it. He said the cost of intelligence has dropped to almost zero
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the advent of ChatGPT, and
yeah,
and I completely agree with that.
yeah,
And intelligence being democratized means a lot more people will be able to do many more things,
yeah, yeah,
very easily at very low costs,
mm,
which really means that growth, access, information, and decision making, all of this is going to be available very easily. Like what YouTube did. I want to become a chef. I want to become anything. I can go and learn on
yeah,
YouTube. It's
yeah,
free, right? Same way, I can use these agents. I can run multiple things.
yeah, yeah,
So I think democratizing of intelligence, of capability, uh,
yeah, yeah,
with I think the kind of stuff that you're building is going to be a game changer for a lot of these brands who can't afford a
yeah,
professional marketing agency, who just
yeah,
maybe today want to start out with a product and start in a very small market, don't have budgets for all of this. They can use these tools and get to the next step.
yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's a stepping stone, and I think the way we'll keep doing this. I think this conversation is so nuanced, and there'll be so many things that while we are talking, there are 50 other questions that are coming in my head as well, right? What we'll keep doing is we'll keep repeating this, and then I think it'll be important where let's in one of the conversations that we have, let's try building something live, right? And let's see where we land.
Oh,
Let's start with
absolutely.
a let's start with a use case, and I think the more our products get tested by people. Like, for example, Manjot is obviously using something right now, right? And he's trying to build, he's excited about what he's doing. We'll kind of get his input in, we'll kind of do all of that. And let's keep this as like a forum where we do our brain dumps, right?
Yeah.
Which is what is happening on AI, because I want to have another conversation with you, which is around just motivation of agents, right? As in, you remember that conversation we've started, right? I think that's a crazy conversation to have. So
I,
we'll
I
keep,
think that keeps me up all night,
oh,
because
that just completely blew my head, right, when I thought about that framework. But we'll keep doing this. But I think this place, we should leave this conversation at this optimistic place of democratization of intelligence. And we'll come back to these conversations and do a lot more of these, right? But this is fun. We should keep doing these.
Oh, absolutely. For me, the whole idea of doing this is I want to really show people where this is going. And it's almost like, you had a science teacher in school who would tell you how a rocket works. And that would
Yeah,
really inspire you because it will tell you the possibilities that you can go to the moon, you can go into
yeah,
space, right? Or you watch a sci-fi movie and you realize that, oh my God, teleportation, is also a concept. So
yeah,
it's like reading Asimov and these futuristic things. Whilst a lot of people today are just using these tools like chatbots, like
yeah,
just talking and in a very limited way. So I think
yeah,
what I want to do is show the real potential of this technology, show the
yeah,
real possibilities of what this can do. And that's where this, agents for human and the real human potential comes out. We have millions of years of evolution behind us. We are
yeah,
extremely intelligent and adaptive, and we're going to rule and build on this technology amazing things, right? I
yeah.
can't wait for that day where everyone has their own Jarvis, and
Oh, so much fun.
and then everyone's Iron Man. So
Yeah,
that I think is what I would like to share with whatever we are building together with other
yeah.
people. Yeah, and it's great. Let's keep it going.
Lovely. We should do a lot more of these.